He never forgot the moment that changed everything, but before that day, Ethan Ross was just another tired man sitting alone in a quiet Toronto diner, hiding behind a hoodie so no one would recognize him. Billionaire, tech founder, investor, none of it mattered to him that night. All he wanted was a simple meal away from the noise of his world. He didn't know that a stranger's soft, trembling voice was about to break through all his walls. "Sir, can we share your fries?" He looked up, surprised. In front of him stood a young woman holding the hand of a little boy, maybe 6 or 7. Her winter coat looked too thin for the Canadian cold, and her son's shoes were ripped near the toes. Her face wasn't ashamed, just desperate enough to ask. "Please, he hasn't eaten since the morning," she added, her voice shaking enough to reveal the truth she didn't want to say out loud. Ethan froze. People rarely asked him for anything genuine, only contracts, deals, investments. But this was real. This was human. He pushed the plate gently toward the boy. "Take all of it," he said quietly. Her eyes widened. "No, sir, I didn't mean all. Just a few fries. I have $5, I just miscalculated. I thought I could afford something for him." She opened her wallet, and Ethan's breath caught. Inside were only a few coins and a transit ticket. The boy grabbed a fry. "Thank you," he whispered, as if afraid the food might disappear. Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in years, a sharp sting in his chest, the kind that reminded him of his mother, who used to skip meals so he could eat when they were broke in Scarborough. He swallowed hard. "Sit," he said, trying not to sound too emotional. "Both of you, please." The woman hesitated but finally sat across from him. "I'm Ava," she said. "And this is Liam." Ethan smiled at the boy. "Nice to meet you, buddy." A waitress approached, but before she could ask for their order, Ethan said, "Bring them anything they want. And a hot chocolate with marshmallows for him." Liam's face lit up instantly, reminding Ethan of how small joys could feel like the whole world when life was hard. As they ate, Ava slowly opened up. She had moved to Toronto after leaving an abusive marriage. She was working 2 part-time jobs, juggling daycare fees, rent, and the rising cost of everything. Today, she had to choose between paying for transit to get to work or buying dinner. She chose work. "I don't want charity," she said quietly. "But sometimes surviving feels like a full-time job." Ethan didn't reveal who he was. He didn't want to scare her or shift the energy. He just listened, really listened, for the first time in months. Ava's resilience humbled him. Her courage made him rethink the luxury he had taken for granted. When the meal ended, Ava asked, "How much do I owe you?" "I promise I'll pay back next week." He shook his head. "Nothing. Just promise me you'll take care of him as well as you already are." She looked down, tears filling her eyes. "I'm trying. I really am." Liam suddenly climbed out of his seat and hugged Ethan. "You're really nice," he said simply. Ethan's heart cracked wide open. He hadn't felt a genuine hug in years. Ava gathered her things, thanking him again and again. As she walked toward the exit, Ethan stood up. "Ava," he called gently. She turned, confused. He took out a small black card from his wallet. "If you ever need anything, work, help, anything, call this number." She held the card lightly, not recognizing the name printed on it. Ross Foundation, direct line. "Thank you, but I don't want to depend on anyone." "You won't be," he replied softly. "You'll just have someone in your corner." Ava nodded, unsure, and walked out into the snowy night with her son. Ethan watched them disappear, a strange heaviness and warmth fighting inside his chest. The next morning, social media erupted. Photos from the diner leaked. Someone had recognized him despite the hoodie. Headlines appeared everywhere. Billionaire feeds struggling mother and child in small Toronto diner. Ava saw the news while sitting in a crowded bus. She gasped so loudly that people stared. She looked again at the card in her hand. That night, she called. Not for money, not for favors, but for a chance. And Ethan gave her one. A job at his foundation. Flexible hours, childcare support, training programs. She cried the day she signed the contract, whispering thank you again and again, not understanding how the world had changed so suddenly. Months later, she was stable. Liam was thriving in school. She was earning enough to stand on her own feet. And one evening at a community event, Ethan saw her from across the room. She rushed to him, smiling brighter than he'd ever seen. "You saved us," she said. He shook his head. "You saved yourself. I just shared my fries." Ava laughed through tears. "You shared more than that." Ethan looked at Liam, now laughing with other kids, warm, full, and happy. He felt something deep inside settle. Something that had been missing. Kindness, connection, humanity. He realized that sometimes the smallest request, just a simple plate of fries, could change a life. Maybe even two. And from that day on, he carried one quiet belief in his heart. The world doesn't change through grand gestures. It changes when one person decides to care. If you want, I can also create thumbnail lines, hashtags, search tags, short description, or 5 image prompts for this story.